Hello and welcome back to the IO Sportscast. Today we're looking at the Imola Grand Prix. As always, I've got Ollie with me, so hello.
Hi guys.
And today we have, I was going to say a very special guest. We have a guest. Uh,
I
Matt,
think very
say hello.
special. Hello, everyone.
Um, so today, we're covering the Imola GP or the Emilia Romagna made in Italy. That one, and another really good race. Like, what is going on? Two races into the season and two top-notch races.
Yeah,
Yeah,
unbelievable. Go on, Ollie, you go first.
Yeah, it was. Well, whenever there's a raid to start off with, you know it's going to be a good race anyway. So I was excited when I saw the raid.
What time did you turn on the coverage? I kind of turned it on about 25 minutes before, and I didn't realise that the track was wet, but straight away when I saw the umbrellas, I was like, get in.
I turned it on literally just before lights out.
Oh wow,
Nice.
I
Well,
was about 10 minutes, 15 minutes ahead of time. Yeah.
yeah, and I saw something on Instagram that Alonso had crashed on his way to the grid. I thought, and I saw he had inters on. I was like, it's raining. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
Always, I would say always promising when there's rain. It always builds the excitement, doesn't it? You know that whatever happens, it's going to mix things up. Likely to be spins and crashes, and yeah.
Just
Yeah.
like Turkey last year, wasn't it?
Yeah, I
We
think-
had rain
yeah,
there.
yeah, we did. And also, it wasn't like full wets. It was inters and going to be a drier track, which is like the best combination.
Oh yeah, easily.
Almost a race where you think if Jenson Button had still been on the grid, he would have fancied his chances.
Oh yeah, but obviously after only 4 or 5 pit stops.
Of course.
Yeah, the 4 hour race.
Let's start with some like overall ratings of things. I'm gonna go for best driver, worst driver, and then a general race rating. So best driver, I think for me was Lando Norris. I'm gonna give him probably a 9 out of 10. Like, he had a solid weekend all round. It was just a little bit unfortunate that his tyres were giving up at the end and couldn't hold on to P2. But just really good weekend. I would have given him 10 had he stuck the qualifying and got on the second row. But track limits took that away from us, unfortunately.
Yeah, I've got to agree. I'd give him a 9. It was a bit nervy the last few laps. I was watching the splits. I was like, oh no. I was like, just hold on. I was messaging you. I was saying, I hope he holds on for third, and he did. So I'm happy for that.
Yeah, there was like a split moment where you thought maybe he could hold on for second. If he could keep Leclerc in the DRS, then potentially. But as soon as Leclerc was out the DRS, it was like game over, really, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
You've got that thing of holding Leclerc in DRS and then potentially losing extra places versus actually giving yourself a gap and a chance.
Yeah, I think on the soft tyres, there's nothing more he could have done.
Yeah, he did pretty well, all things considered. Worst driver, I've gone for Valtteri Bottas. I've given him a 3 out of 10 because in practice he was right up there, doing really well. Qualifying happened and he forgot his porridge or didn't have coffee or something. He just, I mean, he may as well have been driving around backwards for what he did.
Yeah.
And then bogged down in the race and was fighting with George Russell for P10. Like, that's just not acceptable for Mercedes.
Yeah, exactly.
And once again he proved he can't fight if there's traffic. We'll get onto that a bit later on. But yeah, for me, Valtteri Bottas, worst driver, 3 out of 10.
Yeah, I'll probably agree with you again. He just doesn't do it. Seems to be whenever he doesn't start either on the first or the second row of the grid, he never seems to do anything of significance. He can't pass or anything like that. He's just there for the ride.
Yeah, Matt, who you?
He was bad today.
Do you want my best driver or my worst driver?
Your worst driver.
Worst driver, I think, Bottas is obviously up there, and then very closely, or if not equally, followed by Sergio Perez, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Obviously,
Oh yeah.
I'll give him the benefit of the doubt because he did put in a better quali lap to get it on P2. kind of pulled that out of the bag. Wasn't expecting that, but in the race was only really going in one direction. And yeah, I mean, because if he hadn't have spun after the red flag, that would have stopped Lewis Hamilton probably from getting second place and taking the lead of the championship. So from like a team's perspective, he's kind of ruined it for Max and the team. But yeah, not a great performance at all.
Yeah, no, I would agree. I think qualifying does definitely save Perez in that particular.
Yeah, I'll give him a 4 out of 10. If we give him Bottas a 3, I'll give him a 4.
Oof, just because he started second.
Yeah.
Did we all agreed Lando for best driver of the weekend?
Lando or Max? I mean, Max
yeah,
pretty much had a flawless race, and Lewis made a mistake in the wet, which you rarely see, and Max managed to keep it between the lines. Apart from that little just before
the start, yeah.
I was going to say that. Yeah, just before he nearly binned it.
But I mean, if we're talking about luck, you can say Max Verstappen was slightly lucky to not spin, but then Lewis Hamilton to get the red flag a lap after he binned it was just unbelievable luck.
Yeah, does the fact that Perez outqualified Verstappen bring Max's rating down a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, it depends. If we're talking about just the race, I'd give Max 9.5. But yeah, if you include the quali, it probably brings it down a little bit, I guess. Yeah.
Fair enough. Overall race ratings, I've gone 8.5 out of 10. It would have been 9.5 had something else happened towards the end of the race, but it felt as soon as the red flag came out that most of the action stopped at that point. You still had Lewis getting through the traffic and a couple of people going off, but there wasn't like the 4 or 5 car battles for P6, and the track had started to dry out, so there wasn't really the as much of an element of wet weather. So 8.5 for me.
Yeah, I'll agree. It wasn't as exciting as Bahrain, but it was still a good race.
Ollie, you can disagree with me, man.
Nah.
Just out of interest, I did listen for the first week. Did you do the ratings for the race last week? What did you give Sakir?
We didn't do a rating for Sakir. I would have given Sakir like a 9.5.
Yeah,
I'd give it a 10.
The perfect race.
Yeah.
There's no such thing. Yeah, I mean, I thought it was good, really good race. I'll give it a solid 8. I think you're right. It kind of tapered off towards the end. Potentially, it was exciting watching Lewis come through, but I just felt it was slightly unfair that he was in that position. He'd binned it. He should have been a lap down.
Yeah,
so
he did get very lucky.
Yeah. It's a really good race, though. And, the first 2 races we've had, if the rest of the season is anything like this, it's going to be cracking.
Yeah, 100%.
That's always the case right before rules change that we're going to have a good season.
Yeah, that's true.
We want a title fight between Max and Lewis, and I think we're going to get it. I hope we get it.
I mean, if we don't get it this season, when are we going to have it? Because right now, arguably, Red Bull are the fastest on track, and it's been them losing the points rather than Mercedes winning the points.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting to see how reliable the Honda is as well. Obviously, they've brought a lot of upgrades to it. Can it hang on for the length of a 23 race season?
Yeah. That was a good question, to be fair.
Having said
they had a few issues.
Go on,
they had a few issues last year, and Mercedes didn't have that many. And we know that Mercedes more than usually reliable.
But also Honda just in the last few years, each season, have got much more reliable. Particularly since they've started working with Red Bull as well. They're not anything like the 2016 McLaren season.
Yeah, I was going to say since when they joined, they were just a shambles.
Yeah. But I really hope it doesn't come down to reliability. But I feel like if it does, it's more likely to impact Max than it is Lewis.
Yeah,
I agree. Well, let's start with the start of the race, or even before the race. You had Sebastian Vettel having to do a pit lane start because he had a brake by wire failure and they couldn't sort it out on the grid. Had Alonso crashing into the barrier on the way to the grid. Charles Leclerc went off at Aqua Minerale on the formation lap. It looked like it was such a difficult track to start with. You can see why a couple of drivers went for the full wets rather than the inters. I mean, that did sort of come back to bite Gasly a few laps into the race.
I don't think it was wet enough for full wets.
No, I don't, but I can definitely see why. You know, when you got the top guys like Alonso, Vettel, really, really experienced drivers, and Charles Leclerc's not exactly a bad driver, and they're all struggling to keep it on the track. You can understand.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I thought it was a good shout. Like going in before the start of the race, I was thinking, this could be, a good bit of strategy, but obviously it didn't play out that way. And unfortunately for him, he didn't really pit quickly enough. Whereas was it Ocon who?
Ocon, yeah.
Yeah, he took the earlier stop, which seemed to pay off for him.
Yeah, Ocon took a pit under the safety car.
You felt like he was only going to lose more positions, didn't you?
Yeah.
I'm surprised they didn't bring him in earlier. He was just losing position after position after position.
Yeah, well, there was a couple of laps where he was sort of keeping up pace and hadn't caused the train, but as soon as you hit the train, you either fight for the positions or you pit and lose 7 or 8 anyway. So at that point, I can understand why they kept him out if it's a trying track, just to try and make it up later. But didn't quite happen. So yeah, so I mentioned the safety car that Ocon pitted under, which was caused by Latifi and Mazepin having a bit of an accident. Latifi initially went off and was coming back onto the track, and I assume just didn't know Mazepin was there, because he just kept leaning further and further to the right of the track, and then they had a crash. And immediately when I heard that Mazepin was involved, I just jumped to the conclusion that he just taken him out deliberately or something.
Yeah.
But then you look at the onboard, and it's completely Latifi's fault, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, easily. I didn't see what happened until it showed you like the onboard. Because I just saw Latifi into the wall. I thought he'd binned it, just warming his tyres up, and then obviously clips Mazepin and just crashes into the wall. I was like, oh, fair enough.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just going to assume that he just didn't expect a car to be there. But surely when you're just rejoining the track, you check that. Particularly when it's a wet race and it's Imola. Like, there's no space for a driver to go around you. Who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows? So yes, and then the safety car came out. The AMG safety car. I think they might be alternating. We had this discussion in the safety car podcast, Ollie, about which cars would be where. Because it's the Aston Martin in Bahrain, and it will be the Aston Martin in Portugal.
Yeah, I think they are alternating.
Is there a reason why it's gone red? I mean, I quite liked it. I thought it looked really nice, especially in the wet. But it's interesting for a Mercedes to be red.
Well, they had it red last year, didn't they? For 1,000 for Ferrari's 1,000th race, and then it went back to silver.
Surely that's even more reason not to have it red. They've already implied that red represents Ferrari. So.
Yeah, but I don't know. I
don't
prefer
know.
Silver.
I wonder whether there's maybe it's a shout out to Michael Schumacher or something like that.
Could be, yeah.
Because his helmet at Mercedes was just all red with the Mercedes logo on it.
Or have they released a car recently that comes in that colour? I don't know.
I've no idea.
I don't know. I do like it though. It is a nice colour scheme.
Actually, mentioning Schumacher Jr. Under the safety car, lost his front wing. Now, I didn't actually see how that happened. I just saw him leaving the end of the pit lane with no front wing, and the front wing just being on the track.
So he was warming his tyres on the main straight, but like really aggressive kind of lunges on the steering wheel. He was really throwing it about. So yeah, maybe on a damp track, I think possibly just pushed it a bit too much.
And then after he did that, they closed the pit lane, so he couldn't even pit, so he had to go around a few times.
That was so funny. like the definition of irony there, surely.
And then they just left the front wing out on the exit, on the pit exit, and I was like, all right, just gonna leave it there then, aren't
So I messaged Isaac at that point saying, can he pit? And the answer was no, he's not allowed to pit whilst the pit lane's closed. But it did make me think about, what if there was a car that was in a state where, it can't really do another lap, but it doesn't necessarily need to retire. Obviously it's quite a specific situation, but would it be allowed to pit, or would they just have to take the penalty?
No, I think you'd. Well, because he couldn't leave the pit lane, so even if he had come in, he'd have to drive over the debris.
So essentially, like, you could sit in your pit box and wait for the debris to be cleared.
I mean, I don't know. I'm trying to think of a time where you'd have that much damage that you couldn't drive the car around the track.
But if you had say he'd also got a puncture, like, he wouldn't want to keep driving laps, just dragging the floor and the wheel across the ground.
Yeah.
For example.
Yeah, I don't know. I'd argue at that point it's too dangerous to drive, and he should pull in a marshal post if the pit lane's shut. Maybe I don't know. Maybe there is a rule where
clause.
or maybe he can pull up by the safety car, which is just before the actual pit lane, and be held there by the FIA, like where the weighing bridge thing is. I don't actually know, but he definitely can't do a racing pit stop.
Fair dues. I mean, obviously it's a bit of a non-issue in a pretty exciting race. It's just a thought I had.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, it didn't look like he'd lost massive control of his car. And it was behind safety car, so it wasn't like it was a racing speed that he was having to drive his car around at.
Yeah, that's a good point, that, to be fair.
Well, when he eventually did come back in, the safety car also came in. A reasonable restart from Verstappen. Lewis definitely stuck with him. There was a little bit of battling further back with Gasly and Sainz, and I've made a note that somehow Ricciardo was up to P5. I didn't see him doing anything in the first few laps, so I wondered how he'd got there. But he was running fairly well, Ricciardo, until Norris got behind him, and they were told swap around, and ultimately that was the correct decision. Lando definitely had the pace and pulled the gap fairly easily. I feel like Ricciardo just had a bit of a. He was there racing, but he wasn't racing. He was the Giovinazzi of this race.
Not really doing much, just driving down.
Yeah, just forgot he existed. But it was about this time where Russell had got into the points, was right behind Bottas. Then the commentators made a point about Bottas being 70 seconds off the lead, and we were like a third of the way through the race.
Yeah, they were talking about him almost being lapped, which is crazy.
Yeah, he was 70 seconds behind. I think it was an 88-second lap, so he was close to getting lapped on him.
Which is, this was a third of the way through the race where a safety car had been out for 4 laps. Like, that's not good. We've said before that Bottas can't drive with traffic, and it's not. It can't be just a Mercedes, because Lewis proved that in traffic. And he did that. Was it Italy when Lewis was right at the back?
Yeah,
last
Monza
year.
won it last year. Yeah.
The only potential saving grace for Bottas is that he didn't have DRS, because that wasn't activated when he was trying to get through. But I mean, it still wasn't good enough.
You've got one of the fastest cars in Formula One history. One of the best teams, and you just can't get through traffic. It's just.
And even if he can't get through the traffic, he's qualified there in that position, so that's his own fault as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. Also, around this time, Vettel was given a stop-go penalty, for not having his wheels fitted at the 5-minute mark. So he got pulled off the grid because they knew they weren't going to complete the issue with his brake-by-wire. But apparently, even in the pit lane start, you need your wheels fitted with 5 minutes to go. they didn't. It was a stop-go, and on a track where just driving the pit lane takes 25 seconds, a 10-second stop-go is effectively then 35 seconds. Not that he had much to race for, but that's definitely not something you want. Perez,
Perez as well.
Perez was
he
the
got
other,
a penalty.
yeah. I was it was overtaking under the safety car. He ran. I can't remember what corner.
Yeah,
he ran off into the
off.
gravel and then just overtook Gasly and Norris. I think it was that had gone through.
Yeah.
In fairness, on the onboard with Perez, Norris does then slam on the brake when he overtook.
They do slow down.
It's a bit like.
But then,
F1
just think the
2021.
Oh, sorry, go on, Isaac.
It's a bit like the AI in F1 21 when they realise they've overtaken you and then they slam on the brake and then you end up overtaking and getting the penalty.
Yeah.
I hate the safety car in the F1 game. I just press options and let the AI do it for me. It's too hard. But no, coming back to Perez, that was a strange one. I feel like it's his natural instinct to panic and want to take the positions back. I think that's fair enough. But I don't understand why his team then haven't told him that, when you go off the track on the safety car, you can't then retake the positions and just tell him to switch him back. Like, surely the guys on the pit wall are aware of that rule. It would have surely that would have avoided the penalty.
Who knows? Something went wrong with their communication somewhere along the line.
Yeah.
I don't really know how to connect to the next part. The next part is Max coming in for dry tyres, and Lewis continued on, had a hammer time lap. Fantastic, I must say. Kudos to the camera work guys who cut to the wrong overhead box cam.
That was so funny.
And
oh my god!
I was like, "Oh great, we were going to get an overhead cam. Wait, there's nobody here, and there's no car."
Yeah, I saw that. I was like, oh.
And then the time came up that he's done his pit stop and he's just leaving the box.
It comes back and he's just leaving the box, and I got Drive to Survive vibes when it showed you the title. It says Netflix Drive to Survive.
Yeah, but that's actually something that could have made the race even more exciting because Mercedes had a slow right front, didn't they, which made the stop 4 seconds. So they lost about 2 seconds, and you feel like with that 2 seconds, that kind of cost him the chance to maybe come out, right next to Max, which would have been brilliant.
Yeah, he also got held. Lewis also got held by Giovinazzi in the pit lane.
Yeah, I did.
So the combination of things, and then had a very nice Tokyo drift out of the pit lane. Tyres down.
I thought he was going to spin it or
yeah.
End up crashing into the pit wall.
Also, just as Lewis was leaving the pits, Perez came in for his pit stop and the penalty. But in the 10-second gap where you're not meant to work on the car, they had a steering wheel swap. I didn't hear that was illegal. But it does feel like that counts as working on the car, in my opinion.
Were they just holding it though, and then the timer went?
Perez had his old one in his hand, didn't he? And then I think his mechanic had his other one, and then they swapped that, and then they actually started changing his tyres. Then, so
I got the impression that they were holding it whilst the penalty was going, and then as soon as the penalty was done, they made the change. I can't remember if Perez had already taken his off though.
Perez definitely had a steering wheel in his hand in the 10 seconds.
But was it also in the mechanic's hand? Do you know what I mean? Like they were both.
Yeah, maybe, but surely by taking his steering wheel out, he's saving himself time for the swap. Like, surely that still counts as working on the car.
Yeah, because that's the main control panel.
Such a specific. Yeah, such a specific instant, isn't it? It's hard to.
I mean, I don't think he was penalised for it or anything, so.
No, he penalised himself later in the race, so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not only that, but did you notice that every lap when Verstappen was in the lead, his engineer was like, "Is it time for slicks?" And Verstappen was like, "No." And then it's like they just kept asking him the same question every lap, and I was like, "Just have a look."
Wasn't there one moment just before he came in where Vettel's tyres had then kicked in? And he'd started making time up, and his pit engineer was like, Vettel's now making time on his tyres, and Max is like, the dryers are still the slowest tyre, why would you put me on the slowest tyre? After he'd literally just been told that Vettel's now making time.
Yeah, exactly.
I thought they'd maybe gone a bit early with Max. I felt slightly anxious for him coming because he was still one of the first, and usually you think the race leader, waits a couple of laps for the rest of the grid to maybe go before them just to be a bit safer. But I guess Red Bull have always quite aggressive on their pit strategy, and it did pay off, I guess.
The overcut definitely worked this time. Admittedly helped by Mercedes not having the best of stops.
Yeah, I mean, Lewis was flying, so even if Max had stayed out, I mean, he was going a lot slower than Lewis at that point anyway.
Yeah. But none of that really mattered because any sort of gap that Max had was obliterated due to Lewis's teammate and George Russell having an absolutely mammoth crash. I spoke to both of you while this was going on, and we all had slightly different opinions initially of what actually happened. So initially, when I saw the first replay, I was like, that is George's fault, 1000%. Like, he's just completely cocked that up, going for an overtake. But the more I saw the replays, the more I was edging back towards Bottas. I think I'm settling about like 60-40, maybe 70-30 towards Russell. Because Bottas is definitely moving offline, but then it's a left-hand turn, so he needs to be slightly more to the right anyway. I think George just got a little bit... I think he overreacted slightly to the movement.
Is that 70% fault with George or Bottas?
Yeah.
You didn't see it at first. You just saw the two cars in the gravel, and then I think nothing for a few minutes, and then it showed the replays, and I was like,
it was also like a fairly late move from Bottas to start getting in position, considering the way the track was, and he would have known that George had a right sort of toe on him, so he would have known that Russell would have been fairly close. I don't think George's radio and actions afterwards were quite necessary.
Yeah. I mean, just before we come to the aftermath, which is obviously going to be a lot of fun to talk about, the actual incident. I mean, you got Bottas. Obviously, there's the bend, isn't there, on the main straight?
Mm-hmm.
So they're going close to 300 kilometers an hour with going around the bend, and Bottas sticks to the dry line, which you can argue he's entitled to do. It's just unfortunate. It's such a thin. The whole track hasn't got a lot of space on it.
It's narrow, isn't it?
It is really narrow, so it does only leave literally a car's space. And the fact that he was moving over to the right, I mean, he was just following the dry line. I do feel like he should have left a bit more space. In hindsight, he would probably reflect upon that too. But equally, George did slightly, overreact to the movement towards the right, because it wasn't a big movement.
No, and it was a much bigger move from George to the right.
Yeah, I mean, I've never driven a car at that speed, and I imagine any kind of slight movement to your right is going to, make you want to move away and not stay so close. But
yeah, particularly when the distance is like 1.5 meters.
Yeah.
And when you're doing close to 200 miles an hour.
Yeah. It's just...
I'm finding it hard to blame, but yeah, I'd be happy with 60-40 towards George. I think
but if you look,
mostly a racing incident for me.
Yeah.
If you look at Raikkonen's onboard, it looks like Bottas moves a lot more, because obviously Raikkonen was literally right behind it.
Yeah,
it was showing you the replay. It looks like he like weaved a little bit.
I think it's not helped by the little left-hand kink. It does make Bottas look like he's moved right a lot more, but actually he's just kept straight, and he is just moving right to the braking point, which is on the right side of the track because it's a left-hand turn coming up. So, I don't think it's not a Magnussen swerve or anything like that.
No.
But
and plus, it doesn't help when the grass is a little bit wet as well, and you're on slicks.
Yeah. I think had George not moved though, there's the accident. George moves onto the grass. You could look at either way, saying that he shouldn't have been on the grass. He should have just stayed to the edge of the track and taken the accident, because Bottas might have been pushing him off. But if you've got a chance and you think you might be able to get away with it on the grass, then you're going to attempt that if you can stay in the race. But it was
a big crash.
It was a
massive crash
on the inside left side barrier, and then pinged across the track through the gravel into the other barrier. Debris.
Did you see Russell's left front hit the halo?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't see that. Wow.
Yeah, it hit Bottas's halo.
It hit Bottas's halo.
Right. Wow.
If that hadn't been there, it'd hit him in the head.
Bottas looked like he was properly winded afterwards as well.
He did.
You could tell when he got out of that car because he was crouched over.
Which I guess, leading on to what I'm sure we're about to talk about, makes kind of George's action slightly potentially worse. The way he kind of stormed over and didn't really seem to check if it was all right.
When he got out, I saw it. I thought, oh, he's going to go over to see if Bottas is okay.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
That's what you do. And then he slaps him on the helmet, and I was like, oh, okay then.
Yeah, I looked away because I was making notes obviously throughout the race. I made a note, looked back, and saw. I literally just saw the tap on the helmet, and I was like, oh, you know what? He's gone over and just, sorry, my bad, and just sort of like shook his head as like I'm sorry. But then I saw the replay. We saw the gestures from Bottas.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I love it because Bottas is literally winded at this point in the car, and his first thought is to give him the finger. I mean, which is pretty funny, but it still doesn't, for me, justify the way that George reacted there.
No, it's just a rush of adrenaline, knowing it. You're like, if you think he's at fault, it's just one of them.
George's radio did seem a little bit. I said this to you, Matt. It did seem a little bit Sebastian Vettel. Immediately pushing off that he'd done anything wrong and it was all on Bottas, which...
I want to hear the uncensored version. I haven't included what I said. But...
I'll spell it out to you later, Ollie. I'm sure we don't want to
It's not many letters, don't worry.
I gathered that.
It's funny because from watching different instances, especially Seb Vettel last week, it's funny because I've made a mental note in my head, if I ever become an F1 driver, to just never blame anyone until you've watched the replays, which is obviously hilarious because I'm never going to be an F1 driver.
Exactly.
But you feel like surely these guys can learn that, from their perspective it might look one way, but they should really look at some replays before blaming the other driver, because it just doesn't look particularly great, does it?
No, it doesn't. No.
I'll remember that train of thought next time that we're on the game together, and I take you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, to be fair, I don't really apply that to the game either.
Yeah, me neither. I just see a tag and just plow straight into it.
Right. What happened after that? Oh, we had the red flag at that point.
Well, we haven't actually talked about Lewis's accident, which was just before that, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, on Russell. Was it? Oh, Russell was overtaking Russell.
Yeah. It was just before the Bottas Russell thing. I don't really know what happened. Lewis just made a mistake. That's confusing enough in itself. In the wet, that Lewis does that.
Yeah, he said in the interview after the race that he was just trying to get through the traffic a little bit too quickly. So rather than waiting to get through the corner and then take George, he went on to the wet part of the track off the dry line and found out that there was absolutely no grip there.
Yeah.
So
I have flashbacks of Germany when Vettel went off.
Yeah.
Well,
I was like, oh no.
Yeah, well, because of this incident and the fact that it looked like when the cameras joined him, he was away from the barrier, was going to try and get it going, and then just drove into the barrier, and then spent 30 seconds deciding whether to go into reverse or quit or...
Yeah, it looked like he really struggled to get into reverse, didn't it?
Eventually he got there and probably did the wise thing of backing all the way out rather than stopping.
I thought he was going to just try and turn it round, but then I saw him going backwards, and I was like, alright, that could be a little bit dangerous,
Yeah, but it's in the gravel, and as soon as you're in the gravel, you've got to keep moving.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because rear-wheel drive cars in the gravel are terrible at going forward, so why not turn it into a front-wheel drive car?
That's exactly what they said on commentary. It's essentially a front-wheel drive car when he was doing that. And then he got all the way back to the pits when the safety car was out. And then after that, the red flag came out, so it kind of helped him a little bit.
A little bit, I mean...
massively helped him.
Unbelievable, yeah. I think it would have been okay under the safety car, because he still would have been... Well, no, I guess it wouldn't have made much difference, actually, would it? It still would have neutralised the race again, wouldn't it?
Yes, but because of the red flag, he's not half a lap round the track before they get released.
Yeah, true.
They were saying as soon as they looked to the pit lane that Lewis was like right near the front, and they're like, oh, he's not come out of that too bad. It's oh, actually no, he's an entire lap down, and he's just the first to make it back to the pits.
And then obviously they released him to unlap themselves, didn't they, to join the back of it?
Yeah.
It feels similar to one of the Silverstone races last season where he crosses the line on 3 tyres. Something goes wrong, but somehow it doesn't take away points from him. It's kind of crazy.
Very much got the run of the track.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think they should have had a standing start, or do you think the rolling start was the best option?
I'm all for a standing start.
I thought, why do they get to choose? I
to
thought they'd changed the rules now so that it would be a standing start.
That's what
it's
everybody
'cause the
thinks.
track might have been a little bit too damp for a standing start, but when you look at the overheads, it was bone dry.
No, I mean, I said this to you before, Ollie, on another podcast. If it's too wet to do a standing start, why are we sending the guys out to drive? Like, they're racers. This is what they do. If it's an inherently dangerous sport. If you're having to send them out at 40%, then don't send them out.
Yeah, I agree. And at that point, they were mostly, I think they'd all switched onto the slick tyres anyway. So clearly the track isn't soaking wet. Yes, their cars are going to be cold, but that just means they need to brake a little bit earlier or be a bit more cautious. You know, they're supposed to be the best drivers in the world.
And Nikita Mazepin.
And just before, not only that, but just before the restart, the last corner, Verstappen spun. I thought, oh, he's going to end up. I thought he'd fully gone, but he managed to recover, and I thought, man.
Yeah.
If Perez had who was behind him was Leclerc, wasn't it? If Leclerc have overtaken him, he wouldn't have been able to overtake him again.
Absolutely put his
nailed
foot
it.
down.
Yeah, that's what I'd have done, because literally the car was still out, so he wouldn't have been able to overtake him again until another few seconds later.
Yeah. Also with the Bottas Russell crash, Alonso span just after it. Like, he was in the same patch of gravel. So where?
Oh yeah, was it the other side?
Yeah, on the exit of that chicane, Alonso had a little spin.
I completely missed that.
Nothing major, but I just felt like it was going to be. Where's that race where 5 cars just kept going off at the same corner? It was about 10 years ago.
Germany or something, wasn't it?
The old Hockenheim?
Yeah. On the strip that they use for the drag races, the drag strip. Yeah, that's it.
And just 5 cars just went into the same barrier on the same lap. That's what I was like. Oh, this is the debris is just going to cause such a big accident.
There was a lot of debris from that crash.
There was, and fortunately, Raikkonen and who was behind Raikkonen? Schumacher.
Schumacher. Yeah,
they got through it without really being hit. Raikkonen had to drive over a little bit, but given that, like you say, Bottas's car was hit by George's tyre, that could have gone anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
They were lucky not to be collected, them two, in that, because if they'd been collected, it'd be a hell of a lot. It'd be a hell of a lot worse, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Fortunately, it wasn't, and we had actually quite a reasonably short delay, given the amount of debris and the fact they got to check 2 different barriers to make sure it works. And we've had 45-minute, hour-long delays before for a single bit of barrier. I actually felt like quite a quick red flag. We got back up and running. Max had his little incident on the restart. Kimi had a little incident on the restart. Yuki had a little incident on the restart. Perez had a little incident on the restart.
They all seem to have an incident on the restart.
Lando Norris had a good incident and got into P2. And at that point, we thought that was it. He must win this race now. He's going to catch up to Verstappen and overtake him, and new tyres, fresh soft tyres. And
it flew into my mind for a split second. Does he have the pace to challenge?
Yeah, I tried to do
that.
I messaged you. I said that to you, did I? I was like, I hope I said I want Norris to do Verstappen here, but it never happened.
No, and very quickly Max had a 10-second gap and was putting in fastest lap after fastest lap.
A great strategy call though from McLaren to put Lando onto the soft tyre. It kind of paid off for him in the end. You know, being able to pass the clerk.
It looked like that was a juicy battle.
Lose it at the end,
cars battling each other.
Yeah, I thought that potentially it was going to be one of those strategies where it looks good at the start. He gets past Leclerc, but then I was worried that once Lewis got past him, then Leclerc will, then Sainz will. But he managed to. He did a brilliant job, didn't he? Did a really good job.
That's what I was. He did well when he was fighting against Lewis. He did well to just park it in the middle of the track, so Lewis couldn't get past him when he had DRS. I thought that was good.
Yeah. Yuki Tsunoda had some fun times with track limits. He got a warning for turn 9 on lap 45, and then lap 46 gets the black and white flag for doing the same thing.
He got a 5-second penalty,
and then eventually got a 5-second penalty. So I think he was just struggling by that point. He actually had a reasonably decent race, given that he started at the back and just managed to work his way through.
Where did he finish?
That is a fantastic question.
Yeah, I didn't massively follow his progress. Obviously, I saw the penalty.
I think it was out of the points.
13th.
Okay.
At the same time that was happening, the Aston Martins started having issues with their gearbox and some syncing issues. Lewis had just got past Lance Stroll, and I was like, Stroll's going to keep with him. It's effectively the Mercedes B car, and 2 laps later, Stroll's 5 seconds down, and being gobbled up by the guys behind.
Yeah, exactly.
And then a couple of laps later, Vettel's got in the same issue. I think they had some sort of gearbox issues in pre-season testing, and I'm really now starting to wonder whether the Aston Martins have a much bigger issue.
Yeah, because they retired Vettel with it from it, didn't they? Because of a gearbox.
Yeah.
They retired him with like 1 lap to go.
Yeah, second to last lap.
It's been a poor start to this season, hasn't it? Especially from where they were at the end of last year.
I mean, it has, but particularly for Vettel as well, coming out of a bad year at Ferrari and basically becoming a meme. He's just taken that to Aston Martin. I don't think it's quite at the point they're going to be asking questions about is that what they hired him for, but it's definitely it's got to be a concern. He just needs a good race just to snap out of that sort of run that he's got. Because aside from, was it Turkey last year when he got the podium? I mean, aside from that, I can't remember. I can't remember the last time he had a good race.
I know. It looks like he's going to get outpaced by Lance Stroll this year, doesn't it? Quali and race. And Lance is no slouch, but he's also not Lewis Hamilton. So I find it really confusing because I don't think it does discredit his 4 championships because he was unbelievably fast, in that Red Bull. But I mean, it just feels like he's lost his speed, a lot of speed. Whether it's, I don't know, some people can have longer careers, can't they? They can, stay with it a bit longer. I just feel like he has lost it.
Yeah. Sebastian's career is one that I've always been a little bit back and forth on because the years where he's had a really good car, he's driven it really well.
It's like 17, 18, wasn't it, when he was fighting Lewis for the title?
Yeah, and he threw that away. But he was up until the point that he had thrown it away, like he was driving like the socks off that car.
Yeah, but then Kimi Räikkönen was his teammate. I don't know, stick Charles Leclerc in that car that season. Not at his age he would have been then, but Charles Leclerc now, stick him in that 17-18 car. I start to think that he would have done an even better job than Vettel did that year.
Well, we mentioned some other week, didn't we, Isaac, saying if you'd have stuck Hamilton in that car in 17-18, Hamilton would have probably won the championship in that Ferrari.
Oh, yeah, by a mile.
Ferrari by a long way as well.
Yeah, because obviously no shade to Kimi, he's a great driver, but he's obviously past his best now. He's almost 40, and even back then in Ferrari, you could tell that he wasn't really quick. And Vettel, he was beating him, but it wasn't crazy, was it? So yeah. It's hard to know when did Vettel's. I mean, has it been a slow kind of decline or? Yeah,
I think after he left.
I was going to say 2014, 2015, and 2016 Ferrari. He wasn't really there. Arguably, that's partly Ferrari's fault for not having the best car. but also it just felt like he'd never got settled there. There's Ferrari is definitely the most difficult team in terms of politics. Although Red Bull are trying their hardest with their second seat to make it.
Yeah.
But no, you drive for Ferrari and you know the expectation is win every race.
To win, yeah.
Like regardless of that car.
Because of there's
so much pride there.
Because of their legacy, innit?
Yeah. And I don't think he ever really got going there. But even if you look at before, like the Red Bull, like when the car was set up right, he did really well. When the car was not set up right, he struggled.
Yeah.
And yes, he's a 4-time world champion, and yeah, he deserved at least 2, maybe 3 of those titles, like easily on merit. He might have got lucky for the 2012 one where everybody was fighting for it.
Yeah.
There's always been that thing of if the car is not set up, he can't drive.
It does make you wonder, doesn't it? If, because obviously Mark Webber had always been in, either a back marker or a midfield team until the Red Bulls suddenly had the pace. It does make you wonder, if, another top driver had been alongside Seb, would it be somebody else being a 4-time? Well, yeah, I mean, we never know. I mean, I think Seb's a really good driver. I don't think it does fully discredit him at all. He got that win with Toro Rosso, didn't he?
Yeah.
Which is a brilliant drive.
2008.
I just think, he's lost his pace, and I don't think he's going to suddenly get it back because he's been this way for a few years now.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to get it back anytime soon.
Like, because Sergio Perez was obviously driving the wheels off that Racing Point, which is now the Aston Martin last season. And you just think, as a team, I mean, maybe they're going to benefit from marketing and whatever, having a 4-time world champion in the team. But in terms of results, I think Perez would have done a lot better than Vettel will this season.
Oh, absolutely. But there's also that experience that Sebastian's going to bring for the future, whether that is next year or building like a decent pace for the new set of rules that Perez is not going to have, even though Perez is quite an experienced driver. You're talking about...
Yeah, he's never competed at the top though, has he?
No, he had that one season at McLaren, which was way too early for him.
And McLaren weren't brilliant that year.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, back to the race, and Lando Norris started to cause the Lando train, because his tyres were starting to give out. Lewis had made his way through, got past Sainz.
Can we just talk about Lewis making his way through from 9th to finish 2nd? Because
yes, I was about to go on to that. Because we said at the start that Valtteri can't overtake, and that's been proven time and time again. I'm trying to think of the times Lewis has had to come through, and the only ones that are coming to mind is Monza and then this race.
But not only that,
partly because he's gone.
Not only that, but last year when we had Sakia, when Russell was in the car, he didn't have any issues.
Yeah, and he on 2 different occasions
coming through,
got through.
Yeah, and then Bottas did. So it's like
there's definitely something in the car that doesn't like following behind traffic, because Lewis was having trouble, in overall pace. If that's at Silverstone, Lewis is past those cars in 2 laps. But it is a difficult track, and there is definitely something in the car that makes it difficult to overtake when you're so close behind. But it's definitely also Bottas in there as well as part of the equation.
It's a weird one though, because he can overtake. You're right. I think it's the word traffic is key with Bottas, because he's pulled off some fantastic manoeuvres. I can't remember what year it was when he got past Lewis on the outside of Silverstone. What's the corner?
Cops.
Yeah, going into Cops Corner. That was an absolutely fantastic overtaking manoeuvre. Yeah. And he sometimes, gets his elbows out a bit, doesn't he? But I mean, he's never been quite on the same level as Lewis. I mean, hardly anyone is. But you're right. When he's stuck behind several cars, he just makes no progress through. And I think he has been unlucky in this race, because I don't think Lewis would have finished second if DRS hadn't been in operation. And up until that point, up until Bottas crashed, I don't think DRS was in operation.
No, I don't think so.
No, I
But
don't think it was.
having said that, I do think Lewis would have made more progress than Valtteri did. So
Yeah.
I don't know what it is with him. I don't know if he just panics or something, or just like.
Is it the trying too hard that he then
Yeah, I think he might
just
be trying
destroys
too
the
hard.
tyres and suddenly
Yeah.
the 3 or 4 attempts that he's going to have in the future laps are just not there. Who knows? Toto knows.
Yeah.
yeah,
Valtteri probably knows.
it's difficult. I feel like if George hadn't crashed into Valtteri, we'd be talking about, oh, come on, let's get George in the Mercedes. But that kind of complicates things slightly in that department as well.
Yeah.
I mean, at this point, Bottas is probably driving for his career. I don't think that's
Been doing that for the
unless-
last few years, personally. But
well.
Unless Lewis retires, and he'll definitely stay if Lewis retires.
I'm still not sure.
I don't think he will. It sounded.
I don't think Zach Brown's going to be correct that they're going to bring in Verstappen and Russell. I don't see that happening. As nice as that would be to watch,
That'd
and
be
as
right,
dreadful as that would be for George Russell, I
I
don't see.
No,
I don't see
not
that
with
happening.
Red Bull being the fastest team right now. Max
Yeah,
might as
no.
well stay there.
But hey, full change. Who knows? Come on, Williams, 2022.
I'd like to see Norris and Russell together in that Mercedes.
Yeah, that would
Yeah.
be cool.
I'm not quite sure where Norris fits future-wise. I feel like he's pretty well planted at McLaren, and when they were opening this year's car, like he was saying that he wants to take on more of a leader role because it's his 3rd season there now.
Mm.
Yeah.
And like he was saying, he wants to push for more of a leader role, which is really interesting when Daniel Ricciardo in his 11th year of Formula One is coming in.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Do
so
you
I
think-
I think Norris is definitely thinking about McLaren as the long-term thing.
Yeah, I think it's the perfect fit for him. I think he loves the team and the freedom they give him, and I think equally McLaren love his kind of personality, and it's really good for engaging the fans. So I'll be surprised if he moved anytime soon. But I think if Mercedes cool, I don't think you can turn it down. I'm not sure they would at this point, but
Nah.
But also, other point, Perez is only on a 1-year contract, right?
yes,
Yeah.
Perez to Mercedes. I don't see Verstappen
I
going,
don't know.
and I genuinely think they want to give Albon another chance.
not on the Red Bull though.
No.
The question is it in the Red Bull or not?
Well, he's not going to have any
put-
more experience though. That's the problem for him.
Personally, what I'd do is I'd put Hulkenberg in that Red Bull.
Hulkenberg, yeah, okay.
Welcome back, yes.
Yeah. And then I don't know. I'll probably put. I don't know if I'd put Perez in that Mercedes or not. I don't
Yeah.
think I would.
I'm sure. I mean, silly season will come and go. I'm sure in the next
Yeah.
few months we'll have a better idea. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think Hulkenberg will get another shot. I mean, he is a great driver, but I think there's a reason why he's never had a podium.
Starting to feel like George Russell isn't going to score points in a Williams either.
Yeah, I know, right?
What is it with Emilia? He must have a curse of being 10th in Emilia and something happening to him.
Yeah.
Well, just
Yeah.
10th in general. Like I feel like there was multiple races last year where he was
Yeah.
either 10th or 11th fighting for 10th. That something then happened that ruined his race.
Yeah.
Anyway, just before the end of the race, Vettel retired, as we mentioned before, and Mazepin, I thought he was going to have the rest of the race clean after the opening lap. Mazepin then had a spin at Aqua Minerale, and Anthony Davidson, being the savage he is, with the line, I knew he wouldn't let us
Destroyed
down.
him.
Yeah, no, I would laugh it when I heard that. I just started laughing.
What was it he said again?
So, I knew you wouldn't let us down.
Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah. Brilliant.
But
Oh man,
I
he's
just
actually completed. He's actually completed a race.
Yeah. After the first lap incident with Latifi, like he wasn't really mentioned. He was tuddling around at the back, but I was saying to you, both of you, that's what he needs to do. Just be several seconds off the pace and keep it between the lines and finish.
Which he was though. So can we talk about this for a moment? Because obviously they don't follow the back markers for obvious reasons. But looking at the timings at the end of the race, because obviously Mick had the incident and lost his front wing and everything. And I know that there was the red flag, so everything got neutralised. But he was like 40 odd seconds behind Mick, I think, by the
Yep.
end of the race.
Yep.
And I'm trying to work out how that's possible, because it's not like there was any difference in like no cars in between them. They were both at the back.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know either. Neither of the Hasses had a great race. They were both way off the pace, but 40 seconds between drivers is a little bit poor, isn't it?
I just think he's not a very good driver.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know anything about him apart from some of the controversial things.
Yeah, we won't go into that, but
yeah, I don't know. I think for him, just finishing the race was priority number one. I'm kind of glad for him that he has, and it would have been nice for him not to have been part of the Latifi accident, but it wasn't his fault.
He couldn't really do out, could he?
No. I'm not quite sure what Haas are going to do, because surely at some point having cars that slow becomes a danger.
I can't wait to see Drive to Survive. Gunther's reaction as Mazepin just continues to bin it, and then Mick Schumacher sticks it in the wall. Like, it's going to be amazing.
Yes, please.
If Nikita's not already been nicknamed Roman by Gunther, I don't know if that's going to be a thing.
It'll probably be called something worse. No, Gunther Stein.
It's half the how do they have motivation? Like, like all the engineers, like they have to build these cars and mechanics and everything, going from race to race, knowing that the best they can do is
last.
just going to be last every race, and then you've got the drivers binning it like every other corner. It's just such an awful situation for the whole team.
Didn't he bin it in practice as well? You fully crashed it.
Yeah, 10 minutes into practice, he'd gone wide and spun and crashed.
Yeah. You've got arguably the worst two drivers. I'm not saying Mick's a bad driver. Obviously, he's got no experience. So right now, I'd say they've got the worst two drivers in the worst two cars. It's just a terrible recipe.
Yeah, well, and it's not like the off track side of Haas is doing particularly well either.
I think Gene Haas might pull out, and Mazepin's dad might buy out the team. What do you reckon?
I'm surprised.
I reckon there'll be a takeover somewhere. I'm waiting for it to be announced.
It's when they finish at the back of the pack, Australia 2022. That's when Gene Haas pulls out.
Yeah.
I was saying to you what I had yesterday. We'd probably do a better job than Mazepin in that car.
I mean, yeah, probably not, but
one of the three of us.
I would do my absolute utmost to keep it on the track for one lap and then retire, having never gone off in my life.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That would not happen. We all know we'd all stall coming out of the pits and then put our foot down and crash into the pit wall.
Yeah, knowing me, I'd probably spin it into the first corner.
Yeah, but the Haasses were so far back that Vettel retired from P14 and still finished ahead of them.
They couldn't unlap themselves.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
If you look at the standings, it's really strange to see 14th, 15th lap down, Vettel DNF, 17th 2 laps down, 18th 2 laps down.
When the red flag came out, they were 2 laps down, weren't they? And then obviously they unlapped themselves, and they were still a lap down.
But they could only unlap themselves once, I think. So.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
It's kind of pointless at that point.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to Monaco. Mazepin at Monaco. It's going to be funny.
I feel bad for Grosjean and Magnussen. I think they're both good enough to be in Formula One. And to have to sit for a couple of years driving that Haas around just to lose the seat, it's kind of depressing.
Grosjean's first IndyCar race is happening today, and he qualified 7th.
To come back from a massive injury, a massive crash like he did do, and to leave Formula One and then go to another form of motorsport.
Yeah, I mean, just
qualify 7th.
His first, just having a first IndyCar race and qualifying 7th is already solid. But throwing
he's done better than he did in Formula One.
I was surprised to see him go to IndyCar because he talked a lot about it's reminded him that life is very important, and having his family and stuff. He's got a young family. IndyCar is notoriously dangerous.
Yeah, he's not doing any of the ovals though. Which is where
that makes perfect sense.
The big accidents.
That's where
happen.
the big accidents are.
Yeah,
right.
He's just doing the in-course tracks.
So does that mean he loses out? He can't win the championship then because he won't get points at the. I don't know how IndyCar works.
I mean, probably, but I don't think he's going there for the title anyway.
Right.
I think he's going there to prove that he can still drive, in the hope that Mercedes give him that one-off test so he can drive a Formula 1 car again.
I mean, they did promise him, didn't they? So that should happen.
Yeah. Yeah, but Toto's got bigger battles at the minute when the junior team are taking out the main team.
Sorting George and Valtteri out.
Well, yeah. I mean, what can you say to them? It's clearly a racing incident. I mean,
I think it'll just be more of a everybody put on a better face publicly next time.
Yeah, true. Yeah, don't respond by smacking him in the head.
Mm. But anyway, yeah, it was a very good race. Verstappen won, Lewis second, and with the fastest lap, just to keep top spot in the championship.
1 point now, innit?
Yeah, stopped Max leading the title chase for the first time ever, which feels very strange that even at the start of seasons, Verstappen's never led the title. And Norris P3.
Yeah, in the championship, that's amazing.
Yeah, great work.
Oh, actually,
stay up there.
That does remind me, because I missed out on you guys. You guys gave your season prediction in your top 5. Yeah, you guys gave your top. What you thought your top 5 drivers for the season would be. Obviously, we've had one extra race, but I'd like to throw my 2 cents into the convo.
Okay, go for it.
Yeah, that's fine.
So you both had Lewis
as
first.
champion.
Yeah.
This is just what I want to happen. I'd like to see Max win the championship this year, just for something different. So I'll go with Max as my number 1, Lewis as my number 2. I'm going to throw in Perez as a number 3. I think he will improve. I think he'll get up to speed. And between him and Bottas, I'm hoping that he can come out on top. And then Bottas 4. And then I think Lando can be best of the rest, and if not him, probably Charles.
Lando.
That's a good.
I think you guys both put Ricciardo above Lando Norris, which at the time I was thinking, I agree with you. And I think Daniel will get his mojo back and get used to the car, and will definitely improve. But I think Lando's pretty much getting the most out of that car right now.
Yeah, he is.
He's quick, isn't he? He's quick as Lando.
And if he gets enough points in these first few races, it might be too much of a gap for Daniel to close. So I'll stick with Lando ahead of Daniel, I think.
Just on your prediction, Matt, do you reckon it'll come down to the last race?
I think there's too many races this year, 23. No, I don't think it will, because there's so many races, and 25 points isn't, it's not that big to get, one retirement, and that's a 25-point swing, isn't it?
Would you like it to come down to that?
Oh, yeah. Wait, what's the last track? It's still Abu Dhabi.
Yeah.
What's the track before that? Is it Brazil?
Saudi Arabia.
Jeddah.
Oh, right. So we don't know what that's going to be like. I mean, yes, I think definitely. If it comes down to the last race, that'd be fantastic. But even if it doesn't, and it's still, close, and we don't know till the end, that's still good, isn't it?
Yeah. We don't want it to be like. Don't want it to be like 5 races to go.
No, and I won't be upset if Lewis wins, as long as it's really close.
I know. But I won't.
But yeah, I think I'll pick Max. It'd just be nice to see someone different, and then there'll be such an even bigger rivalry going into the following season, won't there?
Yeah. I mean, if Lewis had have won today, I'd have just given him the trophy now, because definitely no way he's losing the rest of the races.
And everybody says he's got the best car, but I think he's not a 7-time world champion for nothing, is he?
No, and there's a reason why he's in the best car.
Because he's a 7-time world champion, because he's one of the best drivers on the grid, if not the best.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, look at Valtteri. His stats compared to Lewis's, they're nowhere near, and he's driving the best car too. So
if you look from like when Hamilton's throughout his career, I don't think he's ever finished lower than 4th in the championship, has he? In the drivers' championship.
I think he's always finished top 5.
Yeah. So,
and he's always won a race every single season.
Every single season, yeah. So
which is ridiculous.
He's not a bad driver.
No, he's amazing, and if he has luck like he had today, as well, then he will be unstoppable.
I mean, if he needed to win the lottery, today's the day to go put a ticket on.
Yeah, exactly. We don't need it, do we?
He doesn't.
Lots of money.
Yeah.
But
it's just great that we're seeing it, isn't it? This is the fight that we all wanted. I think arguably they are the 2 best drivers on the grid right now in terms of just raw talent. Maybe Leclerc is up there too. But to see these guys go head to head is going to be brilliant.
It's going to be like a Prost Senna, isn't it?
Yeah, it really could be.
It definitely feels like this is a driver's title, Like I'd say the last 7 or 8 years have definitely been team titles, and it's just been the number one driver in the team that's won.
Last few years, it's like, when will Lewis win the title?
Yeah. Which race?
Yeah. That's what I mean.
When?
It's been Mercedes and then Red Bull or Ferrari fighting for second, and they've been 2x2 effectively. This year, you've got Max in Red Bull, Lewis in Mercedes as a top 2, but then you've got Perez, Bottas, Norris, Leclerc, Sainz, all there fighting. Who knows what order they're going to finish in?
Yeah,
exactly.
The fact that it's not even just the fight between those two at the front, the McLaren and the Ferrari are there.
That's going to be a good battle this year.
Yeah, that's going to be a great battle, and they'll be there to pick up the pieces in the races where Red Bull or Mercedes get it wrong.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's going to be a brilliant season, I hope.
Yep. I hope Norris gets more podiums this year.
Yeah. I mean,
and maybe a race win.
I mean, he almost stuck it on Well, he should have stuck it on P3, didn't he? He had the pace in quali, and if he can do that at a track like Monaco, then
well, you can't overtake.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Just park it, just drive it middle of the road.
I mean, if Daniel Ricciardo can win with like 100 horsepower missing, then
yeah, that's true.
What are your thoughts? Sorry, Isaac. I was just going to ask what your guys' thoughts are on Daniel Ricciardo so far this year.
All right. Like, I think he's still settling in a little bit, but he's been there or thereabouts, like where you'd expect McLaren to be. So I don't think he's off the pace. I think Lando's just been so on it. In time, I'm sure that will change, and I'm 100% sure that the thought of having a Dale Earnhardt car from Zak Brown for a podium will definitely be.
Is that what they get?
That's
nice.
that's the bet between them.
Wow.
Between Zak Brown and Ricciardo.
Yeah.
Right.
Having said that, he had a bet with Cyril last year about a tattoo, and I don't think that's happened yet. So
Yeah, because Cyril probably wasn't expecting to lose his job then. So.
Yeah, I think that would definitely be an incentive for Daniel. I think at the minute it has just been a settling in thing, but also he's had so many different teams now that he should be settled in now and crack on.
Yeah, because he had this when he joined Renault as well for the first few races, but
yeah.
So yeah, you'd almost think he would have taken that experience and learnt from it, but
yeah,
I don't know.
Because he started at HRT and then went into the Toro Rosso and then the Red Bull. I think you can just disregard all of those because HRT is your first team. You're going to take forever to settle in anyway.
Yeah,
the Red Bull setup is completely different to anything else. So then moving away from that to Renault, I could kind of understand why it took him a few races to really get settled in. But now he's at another top end mid table team. Like he needs to be on it in Portimao, I think.
Yeah, because I think go on, Ollie, you go.
Not only that, but he was only at Renault for 2 years, wasn't he? So compared to his time at Red Bull, he probably 2 years isn't a long time to spend with a team, and then obviously to move then to another team whether you're not familiar with, it's going to be hard, and it's like when you move jobs.
Yeah, no, you're right.
Any time to settle in, but I hope he starts performing a bit better than what he is doing.
Yeah, I think him and Lando could be a brilliant team, especially if McLaren stays with this pace. I think I don't want to go on too much about this, but I just think if you were to pick a driver like Lewis Hamilton and chuck him in that McLaren, like I wouldn't expect him to be off the pace. I just think that the best drivers just adapt a lot quicker and get up to speed straight away.
Yeah, I think you're right there, Matt.
I don't think Lewis would be on it day one, but definitely first race he'd be sort of there, and then
probably get on podium, wouldn't he?
That would be interesting to see. Right, well that wraps up the race. We do have one little activity to finish on. I thought since you're here, Matt, we'll do something special.
Thank you.
So 23 races this season, or 22 now, because I think Canada's been cancelled So instead of having 22 races, we're going to come up with a 20 race calendar.
Okay.
There are rules that we all have to agree that the track goes on, and 2,
Yeah.
the track has to have hosted at least one Grand Prix. So Vietnam can't have it,
Cannot be on the list.
which
So
is
we
fine.
can't have Saudi Arabia already.
Can't have Saudi Arabia. Can't have Miami.
Yeah.
That's just been announced.
So we've not raced there.
I've got some suggestions about the tracks that don't go on.
France.
Not necessarily. Yeah, not necessarily. I don't know which ones we're going to enjoy. I think we can all wipe off France and Russia and Abu Dhabi.
Yeah.
I think they're definitely not not making the track.
No, they're not.
Yeah.
Should we do his opening racing as last race and then fill it in, or should we just go straight
I
20?
think just go for it. I don't think we need to worry about travel.
Are you going to make a note of this, Isaac, as we rattle them off?
Yes.
20 is quite a lot to remember. Right, well, I'll kick us off with the oldest track on the calendar and arguably the greatest track on the calendar, which is Silverstone. There's no chance we're not having that in there.
Silverstone
100%.
absolutely has to be in there.
Yeah, I'd put it in the middle, as it normally is.
I'd put it at race 1, 2, 3.
We want the 20.
Stick it in January, guys. Come on.
Just have all the different layouts of Silverstone. Why not?
Yeah, Silverstone definitely needs to be middle of the calendar year.
I think Spa needs to be in there as well.
Yeah, 100%.
Spa's definitely got to be in there.
Monza.
That's it. Monza.
I knew you guys were going to say Monza. I can't stand Monza, but I will let it go in. I will look. It's got history.
Yeah.
It's
exactly.
it's just nostalgia, and it's been in there.
If we were doing like top 5 or maybe top 10, I might not include it. But for 20, it needs to be there.
Yeah.
I like Bahrain.
No, I do. But which circuit which setup would you have?
It's had like 3
Bahrain?
different layouts, hasn't it?
I'd
Would you
go
have
to
the
like
normal one,
Yeah.
the endurance one, or the one that the outer loop.
I've never seen the endurance one. I did enjoy the race at the outer loop, but that was more. I think that was more to do to circumstances of the race than the actual track. So yeah, I'll just stick to the standard layout. And it's quite fun on the game as well to play. So.
Yeah, it's I'd have Bahrain.
Bahrain will be in there. Australia.
It'd be interesting to see what the changes are like, won't it?
Yeah.
That could. Well, they're getting rid of the. I have 2 chicanes in the entire calendar that I do not like. That is one of them, the 910 chicane, and the other one's at Hungary. They're getting rid of it in Australia, but effectively replacing it with a straight, rather than making it too
quick
extended.
straight as well.
Yeah.
I might put Australia in, but I'm not ready at this point in the conversation.
So okay, Australia's on the bench at the minute.
Yeah.
It's a substitute.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. Zandvoort? No, not this.
No, we haven't.
Yeah, we have.
What about the?
Back in the olden days?
Oh,
yeah. So you could have Zandvoort in there.
I've never seen a race there, so I can't really comment on it.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
What about? There's a couple of tracks in Germany that are both quite good. I like Hockenheim, and the Nürburgring's fairly.
Good. I'd like the old Hockenheim where they've got like the full loop through the forest that you can't do anymore.
Yeah, that'd be fun to watch.
Especially in these cars.
Brands Hatch, anybody?
All right.
That'd be like a
Aintree or
30-second lap.
something.
Oh man.
Are we putting Hockenheim in? And if so, are we putting the old layout in or the current?
Yeah,
layout?
go on, mate. Just to spice things up.
Yeah, put the old one in.
Hockenheim.
Turkey, that was a good race last year.
Sorry, we've forgotten one track which we're all definitely going to put in there. Austria.
Oh yeah, I love Austria.
Yeah.
Even if it's a boring race, I love it on the game so much.
It's just a nice track.
Yeah, it is a really good track.
Turkey was fairly decent. I think last year's race was basically just because of the resurfacing that it caused so much mayhem.
And it was wet as well. So
yeah. Suzuka, that's a good track.
Yes, Suzuka surely has got to be.
Yeah, you do get Brazil.
Oh yeah, the races at Brazil are so good because they're always unpredictable. Definitely.
Yeah. How many have we got, Isaac?
We have got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 definites, and Australia on the
Okay.
bench.
China's pretty solid. Don't mind China.
Yeah.
You do get good races at China.
I mean, you do. Red Bull love that track.
Yeah, they do.
What was the? I feel like there's a race that got taken out maybe, I don't know, 8, 9, 10 years ago that had a similar kind of feel to China in terms of the track layout. That was quite good, and I think it was a track where they accidentally brought out the medical car during the race when the safety car wasn't out. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I don't remember which track it is.
I'm being so vague here. I can't remember what
Nah,
track it is.
No, but I was thinking of tracks that we had a few years ago that are not around anymore, like Malaysia, like Korea, like
I was just
India.
about.
Yes!
I was literally just about to
Malaysia's a
say
brilliant
Malaysia.
track. It's a
I was
great track.
literally thinking. I was going to say Malaysia because that is a good track.
Yeah, that's a great
Especially
track.
in the rain, it's a good track.
I also quite liked the India track.
India
What
track
was
was
that?
not too bad, yeah.
I think that's the shout.
I'll put it on the bench.
Valencia can stay out.
Oh no, that could just burn in hell.
Yeah, that was terrible.
Yeah. Baku.
That belongs in.
Oh, I don't know.
Ooh.
There's been some really good races there, but the first ever race there was
I-
so
yeah.
dull.
I remember the first
Yeah.
race in Baku was like maybe the second race that you and I ever watched, Matt. And it's the
Yeah.
first time I've ever seen anyone actually fall asleep in a race.
It was so bad.
Right,
But-
Baku can go on the bench for now.
Yeah.
Um,
I need to bring up the circuits from this year. What have we got? We're missing
got
some
more
really
Hungary.
obvious ones.
Hungary.
I like Hungary.
Yeah,
It's all right.
I quite like Hungary. Ollie is umming and ahhing, so he'll go on the bench.
No, I don't like Spain, so for me, I'd leave
Nah.
Barcelona out. I think it's rubbish. Yeah.
Portimao.
Portimao, maybe.
Is that the other Spanish one?
That's the Brazil, Portuguese one.
Portugal's one.
Oh, is that the one we're about to go to?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't remember the race from last year. Was it any good?
It's when Hamilton.
I thought it was all right. I
92nd.
I feel like it is the improved Spanish Grand Prix because they're very sort of similar layouts, and the real difference is that Portimao just seems a bit more flowing.
You can actually overtake a bit easier.
Yeah, and it doesn't have chicanes right before the straights, and you've
Yeah.
actually got
Okay.
some sort of flow.
Let's go
What-
for that then instead of
Also,
Barcelona.
there's so much like undulation throughout the track. There's so many like blind turns and stuff.
Oh yeah.
I mean, admittedly, we could just be really biased here, Ollie, because the amount of times we played it on like
Yeah.
cars.
What about Singapore?
Yeah, it's actually had some decent races. So if we're like saying, you know, there should be some street circuits in there to mix it up, Singapore's
Yeah,
not a bad one.
Singapore's an alright.
What about did we put Canada in? I know we spoke about it.
I haven't written it down.
I really like the Canadian Grand Prix. It's
Yeah.
usually pretty
It
good.
is.
Canada's pretty
Yeah.
solid.
What
Oh,
about Circuit
sorry.
of the Americas?
I was going to say, yeah, we've missed
Oh yeah,
the two North
USA's
America,
good.
the other North American
And
tracks.
Mexico.
and
That's-
Mexico's.
yeah, they're both good. What tracks? I'm not very good at remembering the ones where we no longer go to, especially the really old ones.
I mean, we've had there've been loads. We used to be like at Fuji in Japan. That was
Yeah.
Hamilton
can't
loved that
remember.
place. I quite like that track, but
Oh, what was the one that had the banked turn in America? That was kind of fun.
Indianapolis.
Indy.
Yeah, that was quite good. What do you guys think?
I never really saw any races there, so
I
I
don't-
can't comment.
I don't think. I don't know.
Or we could go Monza with the bank turn as a second
Old
Monza.
Monza.
Yeah. Old Monza.
The old France track,
Magny-Cours.
Magna Core, that was all right.
Yeah, I don't recall it. What's the really long one in Germany? You know, the infamous one.
Oh, the Nürburgring.
Oh, they-
No, not the Nürburgring.
The Nordschleife
the,
one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Oh.
like 20 miles long. That's obviously not particularly realistic. But we haven't mentioned the track we're at today.
Imola.
Yeah, what do you think? I mean, it was a good race today because of the weather and stuff. But
Would you do new Imola or old Imola when they didn't have the first chicane? And it was just a long.
I don't mind New Imola, but I just think the cars are too big for it. It's another one
Yeah,
of
but-
those that's like 10, 15 years ago would have been great.
yeah, can we like have some money for them to like widen the surface of the track? You know,
Yes, please.
we'll take wide Imola, please.
Wide him.
Wide Imola.
Um,
I'm just looking at a
I'd-
list of all the things
I'd
now.
throw up.
Trying to think.
I don't know how new cars would go around this, but in old tracks, Kialami in South Africa, I'd love to have F1 go to an African track.
Yeah, that would be.
What about Donington?
Yeah, I've never seen a race at Donington. I've got no idea. I think Silverstone's supposed to be better though, but I don't know how good Donington is.
I mean, there's a reason Silverstone's kept it as long as it has.
Yeah.
What about Korea?
Yeah, that was quite good actually, wasn't it?
Yeah. It only
I think that's the track I meant actually. I think that might be where the. I mean, I could be completely off here, but that might be the one where the medical car came up.
Yeah, Korea was not too bad. I'm just disappointed it only ran when Red Bull were champions.
Yeah.
It'd have been nice to see it over a couple of different eras.
What else have we had?
At the minute, we've got 14 definites and 4 on the bench.
So we can't even get to 20.
We need 2 more.
We've got a top 10 then at least.
What about Watkins Glen?
Ooh.
Where's that? I haven't heard of that.
America.
USA.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I would like to see the cars go around that. I think it's going to have the same issue as Imola, that it's just not going to be wide enough.
We haven't talked about Monaco, guys.
I don't want to bring it up.
I don't.
I
wouldn't put it in.
Monaco.
I like it for nostalgia.
It's there,
history.
yeah. For
Can they just
nostalgia
hand
and
the points
spectacle.
out after qualifying? That'd be really exciting, and then just not have the race.
Monaco qualified. I'd take that all day. But I mean,
the
race is just.
I'd say Monaco is the perfect example of where reverse grids should be brought in. You should do
The only track, yeah.
You should do have a couple of points for pole position, so you're still actually fighting for something on the Saturday, and then do a reverse grids on the Sunday.
Well, let's go a step further and let's bring in Bernie's sprinklers for Monaco.
What about Jerez or Adelaide?
I don't remember any races in Jerez.
What about Adelaide?
Yeah, I can't weigh in on that.
I remember them doing testing there, but I don't know what it'd be
Yeah,
like.
they used to do it.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. I'm just. What about Mugello?
I think it's all right.
I think I fell asleep during Mugello, guys. Is that the race where Lewis Hamilton was handed the victory on the VSC?
That's where they had a massive crash behind the safety car because Bottas floored it, and then everybody just plowed into each other. And there's like 4 red flags or something.
I mean, that sounds quite exciting. So sure, I feel like we're struggling. So yeah, check it out by all means.
I'm trying to think. I'm just going.
I do like Australia on the F1 game. So if we are struggling for the final spot, I'm happy to take it there. And maybe the improvements will aid some overtaking. Who knows?
Yeah. Potential for things like Long Beach.
I mean,
I don't remember any races there.
Joe, I think I might have watched one at the start of lockdown that was at Long Beach, and it did look quite fun.
They only ever held 8 races at Long Beach.
Yeah, end at 70s, start at 80s, wasn't it?
Anything's better than France and all these other tracks that are out there. So
yeah. I think we have to go back to the possibility of Zandvoort and just go off what we know from the Formula 1 game.
Yeah, or Zolder maybe. I don't know. I don't know what the racing was like at Zolder back in the day.
And why not? We're going to have Max Verstappen in Formula 1 for the next 10 years, so I might as well have a home Grand Prix for him.
All right, Zandvoort is going on the list.
Right, wait, how many is that?
16 and the 4 on the bench. That's our 20.
We're just going to have to stick to benches.
So,
what's the bench ones again?
Hungary, Australia, India, and Baku.
Yeah, that's fine.
Great.
I'd say we finish in Brazil.
Yes, yeah.
Brazil. I don't know why they ever brought. I know why they brought in Abu Dhabi because of the money, but it should never. It should not be the last race of the season.
No.
And you guys talked about this in the first Formula 1 podcast you did about the opening race should be at a better track than Australia, and I fully back that. I thought Bahrain was a good one, so anywhere where there's overtaking.
So starting at Bahrain
and finishing it. Brazil, because that's just
And
like
any street circuit or circuit where there's limited overtaking should be the start of like a double header as well.
Ooh, okay.
ooh.
So like you're like, oh, this is a bit of a boring race, but at least we've got Silverstone next week. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right. Okay. In which case, Singapore and Malaysia are going together.
yeah, they're close enough, aren't they?
Yeah, much next to each other out there, I think.
Yeah.
Or we could just scrap all of the ones we're not sure on and just do reverse races for the tracks we like.
Different
Oh,
I'd
layout.
quite like to see
If
Eau
only-
Rouge backwards would be good fun.
Oh man, imagine going down on Rouge.
If only we could do that.
You'd get so much airtime going on there.
I mean, it's hard enough to drive on the game up it. Imagine,
Yeah, exactly.
Um,
That would be cool. That would be quality. That.
Did we come to a decision on Turkey?
I'm game for Turkey.
I'd put it in.
Okay, that makes us 21 then. I was just looking through, scroll through just to make sure I've not missed anything obvious. In which case, India might be getting bounced.
Oh, no, I liked India though. What were the other bench options that we've now just shoved in?
Hungary, Australia, India, and Baku.
Yeah, get rid of Australia then.
Goodbye, Australia.
Yeah. We want them all to be wet races, even though I know most of them are in the desert. Just wang them on in the rain.
Okay.
Well,
So our calendar out of order. We know we'll be starting at Bahrain and ending in Brazil.
yeah.
The other tracks that will be fitting somewhere are Silverstone, Spa, Monza, Old Hockenheim, Austria, Japan, Malaysia, Singapore, Portimao, Canada, Kota, Mexico, Zandvoort, Mugello, Hungary, India, Turkey, and Baku.
I think you need to have most of the European races together, like they normally do.
I'm not bothered about sorting out. travel
I
between
mean,
the
we're
two.
not actually planning the logistics. So.
I mean,
Yeah, Michael Massey.
Actually, it sort of is actually really well grouped together. Apart from Bahrain at the start, you've then got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 European races, then Japan, Malaysia, Singapore, back to Portimao for a one-off, and then the 3 American ones, and then back to Europe for 3 races before finishing in India, Turkey, and Baku, and then Brazil. That's fairly well.
that's
fairly well grouped.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I think we should
Solved
send an email to the FIA now.
Chase
mate.
Carey, listen up.
Gene Todd and Michael Massey. Yeah, lads, 2023 race calendar for you. Yeah.
I was thinking as I was watching I don't know if you caught it before the race, the Wii race as one, and I know it's been widely talked about, but it's just the fact that tracks like Saudi Arabia are coming onto the calendar.
Yes, ridiculous.
It's just a joke. Bahrain's a fantastic circuit, but obviously we're talking about the pure racing here and stuff like that, but I think Formula 1 do need to take into account the human rights and everything else going on.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and I think
It's just money, isn't it? It's money talks.
an issue for sport in general, really. If you look at the amount of things that are happening now in Saudi Arabia, lots of boxing is happening there outside of motorsport. Qatar's got the World Cup.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like classic big corporations that they'll spend more money paying on like marketing to make it look like they care than actually making any changes that make a difference. It's pretty sad.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
On that cheery note.
Yeah. If we're all done and dusted and nobody has anything left to say, then I want to say thank you, Ollie and Matt, for joining me today. Thank you to everybody listening. Remember to hit the like button and the subscribe button and the notification bell so you know when the next episode comes out. And we also have these things called Instagram and Twitter that you can follow us on at IO Sportscast. Thank you very much, Matt. It's been a pleasure having you.
Yeah, it's been good.
Ollie, thanks.
As per.
I've loved it, guys. Thanks so much for having me. It's been brilliant.
We'll have to have you back at some point.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for listening, everybody. Goodbye.